Oh my god, chat. I just saw two of the most dumbest things, like one after another. Has it ever happened to you? You read on the internet and you see something and it's like, wow, this is really dumb. I don't even believe it's real. Let me fact check. Holy shit, it's real. How can it be? And then, like, literally a couple of minutes later, you see something else, like, oh, wow, this is even dumber. But no, wait, this is real. Oh my fucking god, it is. So where do I even start? Right, listen to this, like, only in America. Because you read this and you're thinking, wow, this is some Chinese level shit. This is some Soviet stuff. The NLRB ruled that Starbucks... No, get this. No, seriously, like, listen to this, because it's mind-blowing. Like, Starbucks illegally closed all 3 stores in Ithaca. Like in your American concept, like I understand Americans are different than Europeans, but like we here in Europe don't understand like illegally closed. Like unless it's like a public business, a public place, right? They can illegally closed. Or maybe you're like an employee working for someone else and you're supposed to be open, but you're closing. But no. Like, the actual store owner closed their business illegally. Like, Americans, please translate this into European for me, because I don't fucking get it. So, apparently they have to reopen, they have to rehire all of their staff, they have to give all of their staff 1.5 months of back pay. Because it's not your store, you fucking bigot. It's our store. It's our neighborhood. We deserve, we fucking demand. I'm actually happy that Starbucks is getting shafted like this. I genuinely do. Like, for those of you who do not know, Starbucks is the company that would tell their barista when they're giving you your chocolate and your hot cocoa to lecture you about race. Because, like, Starbucks really understands race. Like, they're experts on race. And who else to explain to you the race relationships in America than the barista? Apparently, that didn't flow over well. And then they were, like, in this controversy where you had, like, a manager that got fired and she sued and she won. But basically, like, the whole thing was, like, 2 black people decided to go in a Starbucks and sat at a table. Now, the waiter comes up and says, like, are you going to order anything? And they're like, no. And the waiter says, look, we don't mind that you want to sit here at the table, but, like, you gotta order something. And they're like, no. I said, well, get out then, because, like, this is a business. This is a place where people come in and purchase stuff so we can put food on our table. I got starving kids at home. I need to fucking feed them. And they're like, they don't fucking care. So the guy calls the cops. Now, in America, you're not allowed. It's against the culture, the corporations. They don't like it if you call the cops on the aristocracy, right? So all of a sudden, the press and the activists with the drum go in front of the Starbucks and and all the media, all the corporate press is like, how dare the Starbucks call the police? Like, these 2 gentlemen were entrepreneurs. They were discussing how to sell buildings. They were like some of the most respectable members of the community, and they were asked to leave. So what happens is, like, Starbucks, I'm not kidding, like, this actually is in the past. This actually transpired. The CEO orders that all of their staff be subjected to diversity training. So, like, he shuts all the stores down. I think it was, like, for a couple of days, and he gets, like, millions of dollars in damages and shit for doing that, but he does it, right? And everyone is an expert now on racismus. Just so you can understand what Starbucks is, right? So now that they're getting fucked by the left, good. Don't close your stores. Don't fucking close your stores. Oh, you're thinking that it's bad for... Who fucking cares? It's not your stores. It's the people's stores. Get fucked. I so enjoy the fact that I used to read the news and I have, like, the background and I know what these people are like and what they did in the past. And now, finally, welcome to the consequences of your actions. Like, you supported this. And by the way, their decision afterwards was, you know what? Actually, anyone can use our stores. Anyone can use our stores. We don't care if you want to buy or not. I mean, it's not like you can come here and still buy a pack of gum or some shit so you can justify that you're a customer and say, no. You can just... And then you go on Reddit Starbucks and you see the employees of Starbucks who are like, dude, I'm worried for my health. Like, every single time I clean the bathroom, I run into fucking needles. There's no more customers anymore. Like, you got all these homeless people and drug addicts coming in. We can't kick them out because it's company policy that we gotta let them stay. And it's getting our actual customers. Because guess what? You know, liberals, they're all compassionate and they're like, oh, we got so much empathy. Oh, so much empathy. But I don't want to sit next to the people that I'm empathetic for, you know? So, like, they do care about the homeless. They do care about minorities, but not in their backyard. Like, please, you know, I go to Starbucks to relax, to have a cup of coffee. I don't want to see these people there. So obviously, you know, Starbucks being a posh place, because it's not like the coffee of the peasant. It's the coffee of the corporate slave, right? It's the coffee of the people that can afford it. And they don't want to see, I mean, you know, they like to pretend that they care and they have a lot of compassion. They're kind of like Hollywood actors, you know, like when they get that Oscar, they lecture you about social justice, but they do clear up the area before the event. They do clear up all the homeless people and they do clear up all the unmentionables. Like, you don't want to associate with them. It's kind of like in prison, you know, you lose face if you associate with the untouchables. You're like, so yeah, all in all, I have absolutely no pity, no empathy, none whatsoever for what's happening to Starbucks. I think it's good. I think there should be more cases. They shouldn't be allowed to close any store ever. For any reason. It's not their stores, it's the people's stores. Yeah, it is the people's coffee. Absolutely. Yeah, you put their lives in danger by summoning the police. And this is, by the way, just scratching the surface, because the madness of Starbucks, the more you look into it, the more you start being like a religious person. Like I, as an atheist, am starting to cross myself every single time I read about Starbucks. Like you just open the news, and the moment you see Starbucks, you're like, oh wow, I'm in for a doozy, aren't I? Yeah, the NPCs cheer all the way until they realize that, see, here's another thing. Like this is, what, a lot of authoritarian governments do all the time. They usually start with a measure for the rich in order to normalize the concept, and then they start applying it to the poor. Like income tax. Like initially, income tax was only for the rich, and people supported it. And it got normalized, and then everyone has to pay income tax. But another example is what Kamala Harris wants to do with taxing unearned gains. Like, that is the most retarded thing that I have ever heard. It's like, what do you mean taxing unearned gains? Like, I haven't earned it. How can you tax me? Like, do you want me to create money for you out of thin air? And the answer is yes. This is literally what they want. So, basically, like, if you have stocks, like, let's say you buy Bitcoin or some shit, right? And all of a sudden, the price jumps, and now you actually have 3 times as much money in Bitcoin that you had when you initially bought it. They want you to pay tax for that. Now the funny thing is that you can't really, you haven't transferred the Bitcoin into actual money, right? Or if you invest in stocks, like let's say I invest in Google, or I invest in Ubisoft when Ubisoft was a small company, right? And then all of a sudden my stock explodes. Like I'm making a lot of money. Now I can't actually transfer the stock into cash until I sell it, right? But normally when you sell the stock, that's when you pay tax. But no. What Kamala wants is the fact that the stock just raised in value. I should pay tax for it, even if I actually don't see a single cent in my pocket. Does that make any fucking sense? And the funny thing is, like, let's say you actually do invest in Ubisoft, right? The stock goes up, you get a lot of money in taxes. Now stock goes down, like stock crashes, and you're losing money. Is the government going to repay you the taxes that you're given? Are they going to, you know, like somehow go like, okay, well, unearned tax, now you have unearned loss. So no, they're not, right? And again, like the only reason that people support this is like, oh, it's for the rich. It's for the big guys. Yeah, until they normalize it, and then it's going to be for everyone. Speaking of leftist compassion, send some Haitians to Martha's Vineyard. Oh my goodness, that would be great, wouldn't it? That would be great. But for some reason, I don't know why, like, liberals don't like it when Martha's Vineyard gets enriched. Like, I genuinely don't get it. It's like the average liberal on the street, right? So, I understand why the people in Martha's Vineyard don't want immigrants. But I think, like, the average Karen that supports the Democrat Party, why is she against immigrants being sent to Martha's Vineyard? Like what does she has to lose or gain? It's like, They're still in America. They're still a nice place. I mean, it's fucking Martha's Vineyard. I would like to go there. I think Steam moderation is done by the Reddit mod kinds of people. And they, I think, aren't on Steam payrolls directly. I think, like, Steam moderators are actually paid by Steam. So, you have, like, two types of moderators. You have, like, the actual Steam moderator, and then you have, like, the community manager. So, the community manager is someone that the developer hires, while the Steam moderator is someone that works for Steam. And as a community manager, you still have to follow Steam rules. I don't know, I think that the Steam moderators, like, from what I have seen, haven't been involved in a lot of controversy. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you find one that has. But overwhelmingly, no, they're pretty okay. I mean, they didn't ban Brutus, right, when he started his website, and he would have definitely been banned from Reddit. So I wouldn't say that they're as bad. I think they're pretty okay, and the reason for it, get this, is that Steam actually makes money from its customers. Unlike other companies that make money from investors or make money from governments, Steam actually requires the customer to be happy. So, like, the way they make money is by having independent developers usually, because, like, the AAA companies, they have their own platforms. But, like, what Steam does is, like, no, it needs the independent developer to create a game and put it on their platform. And that independent developer would like for the reviews to be honest, would like for the system to be working as intended, and would prefer if people don't fuck with him as much as possible, right? Just leave them alone. And it's very rare that Steam actually intervenes. Their rules are quite easy to understand as well. Like, my game got approved on Steam, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, V, your game, it's anime art style, it will never get approved." And it's like, no, you just have to follow their rules. And they're very clear about the rules. It's like, don't have underage characters. Do not have, even if the characters are of age, do not place them in a high school setting or have them behave as if they're underage. Do not insinuate that they're underage. And actually have a game. Do not have, like, a scam. Do not try to have something that is pushing for malware. You know, that type of shit. And then they also want you to be honest about what's in the game. Right? So, like, if you have violence in the game, they want you to mention it. If you have alcohol or drugs in the game, they want you to mention it. And this is not due to Steam, it's because of the various legislations in other countries. And they also want you to age-gate your game, right? So, like, if you believe that your game has violence, that it's rated R for mature, whatever, right? If you follow all this shit, you're not going to get your game banned. A lot of people that get banned from Steam is because they do not follow the rules. Now, you may not agree with the rules, but most of them are because of legislations that are from different nations and countries. So that's why. So all in all, I think that the Steam moderators are pretty fair. I haven't heard cases where they're not. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it can't even happen to me that one day they're like, "Hey, you know what? We changed our mind." But from what I can see, most of the time, the Steam moderators have been pretty fair. Yes, people can see the chat. Unless you're Stephen King, then you can write about kids and make a bestseller. I think, like, the reason Stephen King managed to get past that. So, like, if you don't know, you know the movie with the clown, It, right? Stephen King wrote that book. And the whole book is actually a pretty good horror story. Like, it got into a movie, it got remade into another movie. It's pretty famous, right? Like, It the Clown. And the whole thing is that you have, like, this demonic eldritch entity, this clown creature that eats children. And the children in the town decided to band together in order to stop the creature. And they have, like, the Losers Club. And, you know, part of the whole idea is that they are losers. And one of them is a girl. And her background is that she is sexually abused at home. And you know, like, I generally don't necessarily have a problem with that. Like, you're supposed to tackle different themes in literature, but, like, they have to make some sort of sense, right? So, like, the idea is for the reader to feel compassion and empathy for the girl because, look, she's coming from a poor background. Look what's happening to her, right? Like, the idea is to connect the reader with the hardship and to make her be sympathetic because not only is she dealing with that, but she's got a killer clown, right? So when people talk about Stephen King writing shit, they're not referring to that. Because George R. R. Martin writes that type of shit as well, and George R. R. Martin gets a bigger pass. No, the thing is that after the kids defeat the clown, and again, this is in the book, which is a bestseller, and it's published in different languages, but after the kids defeat the clown, they have an orgy in the sewer where they all gangbang this chick. And there's like literally no reason for that scene to be in. It is very disturbing as a reader when you get to that. There's no character development. There's no like the only reason that I think it's in is for the pleasure of the author. Like, it's not a scene that's meant for you to feel disturbed. Like, for instance, when George R. R. Martin writes equally disturbing scenes in his books, there is a scene where there's an Arya Stark lookalike, and Ramsay Snow uses the dogs in order to have intercourse with her while Reek watches. Like, again, that's written in the book by R. R. Martin. But the purpose of the scene is to show just how evil and fucked up Ramsay is, right? So, like, it does have, like, some reason why it's there. And it's not explicit, but what's happening in it, there's no fucking... And the thing is, like, people have pressured the author on this. Like, they have pressured Stephen King on this. It's like, Stephen, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, so you're okay with the killer clown eating kids, but you're not okay with this. And it's like, look, man, I'm just bewildered that you would write something like that. And I genuinely, like, don't understand the context. Like, I don't get, like... You know, like for instance, in Game of Thrones, you had Daenerys and Khal Drogo, and she's forcefully married to Khal Drogo, and Khal Drogo forces himself on it. But believe it or not, it is for the plot, right? Because you're supposed to empathize with Daenerys, you're supposed to feel for her, you're like, wow, she's in such a fucked up situation, how is she going to get out of it? And the way she manipulates the situation to her advantage and makes Khal Drogo into her little bitch. You know, like, for the reader, there's character development, that there's, like, a story being told there. In this, there's no story. There's absolutely nothing. It's just so fucking weird that people are asking, like, Stephen, what the fuck? Yeah, like, it's so fucking totally random. So fucking totally random. I'm just like, and it's a bestseller, yeah. Now, the reason that I think it is a bestseller is because people don't know about that scene. It's on Wikipedia, like, you can check it out. It's not, like, something that's hidden. But most people haven't read the books. Most people have watched the movies with It, the Killer Clown. So that is not in the movies for some reason. Thank God for that. But again, it's the fact that most people have watched It, the movie. They haven't read the book. It's at the ending of the book. So, like, most people who read don't even get to that part. So, Children of the Corn has it too. But I think, like, the Children of the Corn is at least, again, like it makes sense in the context. Like, it's not random is what I'm saying. It's like, okay, the children are demonically influenced. Like, Satan is possessing those children, and in Children of the Corn, like, they're murdering the parents, and every single kid that reaches adult age is being sacrificed to the corn. So, like, from that perspective, like, they're trying to create a very fucked up narrative. But the thing with Stephen King is that there is no context. There's no, it's like, all of a sudden, they just like, what the fuck? You're reading it, it's like, why? Stop, no. I haven't read Children of the Corn, though. I have seen the movie, so I don't know if, like, he gets into explicit details or anything like that. Man, Children of the Corn, I remember, like, when I was young, like, it scared the living shit out of me. I think, like, I saw that movie when I was a kid. My parents actually let me watch horror movies. I never had the problem with it. I actually loved it. But after watching the movie and having to go to bed alone and the lights turned off, oof. Like, there were a couple of movies that really left an impression on me. One of them was, like, Ju-On the Grudge, the English adaptation. The one with, the other one was Children of the Corn and Boogeyman. And I think that's it. I think there were, like, 3 scary movies that, like, really left a mark on me. I don't see why he gets a pass. You couldn't make what he wrote into a movie or a game. I think it's just because books aren't as popular, man. I genuinely think, like, when something is niche, when something... And books used to be popular, but now they're niche. So if people don't read it, people don't know about it, people don't talk about it, and that's that. Alright, no, Stephen King has like a lot of deranged stuff. Like there's in The Shining. You know, like all of these popular movies, they have like some really fucked up books. There is a scene with the furry. And he goes like in really deep description how the main character is looking at this like furry dressed individual giving fellatio to another man. And again, it's like, it's just so bizarre. It comes out of fucking nowhere. It's like, that's the thing with Stephen King. Like, he has these disturbing scenes, and they're not even fan service, right? Because, like, I understand you read Mario Puzo, the Godfather. And in The Godfather, like, you have Sonny having sex with this woman, and it's, like, obvious fan service. And it's also part of the plot, because apparently he's got, like, a big dong, and he's trashed this girl so much that she can't experience pleasure after him. Like, it's... so, like, again, it has, like, some sort of reason of why that scene is there. Like, it actually accomplishes something. But with Stephen King, no, it's like, all of a sudden, you're mentioned into this, like, bizarre thing that's either involving kids, or it's queer, or something along the lines. And then there's no mention of it. Like, then there's just God. It's like, why was it there to begin with? Excuse me, The Stand, not The Shining. Is that what it's called? It's the one with the hotel, right? I read it again when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to go to the library in my high school. And yeah, they had those books. And I was reading a lot of fantasy, basically. Jules Verne. I love Jules Verne. But after that, I started reading horror books. And one of the authors that I was reading was Stephen King. And again, like, I think, like, 15, 16, I don't know how old. And I was reaching these passages, and I was like, what the fuck? Why? Stephen, why? Why, Stephen? The American Jew one wasn't scary. Dude, like, the reason it was so fucking scary is because there was no hiding from that shit. Like, there's a scene where this girl manages to like, hear the garage coming in her apartment complex. And she locks the door and gets under her blanket, like she's in the bed. And the garage just happens to come through the bed pillows and pulls her deeper. And it's like, that was the scary part. That's like, there's no hiding from it. Like, no matter where you are, no matter what you do, like, the moment you stepped into that house and you got cursed, that's it, you're dead. So I kind of like that concept, you know, because other horror entities, you kind of can sort of hide from them, like Jason Voorhees. It's like, okay, well, if you manage to, like, get away from him, he can't get to you, right? So, like, if you take a plane and you fly into a different country, that's it, you escape Jason Voorhees. Congratulations. You do have, like, others that are kind of like that, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like, you got Freddy Krueger, and as long as you don't go to sleep, you're kind of safe, you know? So it's like that, there's that, but with The Grudge, there's no stopping it. It's like, okay, well, the moment you enter the house, no matter where you are, no matter where you're at, like, it's going to get you. So it was pretty scary, yeah. But the thing with Freddy Krueger is that they actually defeat him, if I remember correctly. Like, they actually find a way to pull him into the real world and fight him, so... Again, he's not invincible, but with The Grudge, like, there is no stopping it. They even burned the house, and she's still... what do you think makes something scary? I like to make a horror game, and I really like to know your opinions. Well, it depends, right? Like, there's scary things that work on different people. So it really matters, like, what your target audience is, right? Like usually jump scares works on everyone, but they're really cheap, and people don't enjoy that. I think what makes it something scary is a villain that you can't defeat. And this is just from my take, right? A villain that you can't defeat. So the villain is absolutely invincible. It's like an eldritch entity. the only way to escape it is for the villain not to know that you exist. But if it knows you exist, you're fucked. You know, kind of like The Grudge. Or the villains in my game. And there's no escape from it, right? So, like, if you manage to show to the reader that the protagonist is doing something that would make sense, like getting inside of a building and locking all the doors and they're safe, but the villain still gets to them, I think, like, that creates an area of dread. And it's also, like, the way you actually write. So, why did you ban Drax Erdax? Like, he didn't say anything wrong. Jump scares can be good if not used constantly. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that really pissed me off about the new movie, the new IP called The Conjuring, right? Like, the whole thing with The Conjuring is jump scares. Like, that's it. And you know, like, at first it's fun, but, like, they keep overusing it. And when you keep overusing something, it becomes stale. It becomes lame. Also, another thing that I noticed that good horror movies do is to not fully explain the evil. So if you look at movies like Event Horizon, it's not really explained what's happening. It's just like the spaceship is causing people to go insane. You don't really know why. It's not like in-depth explained, but like the very fact that it's there, it's enough to creep people out. In Alien, like the first Alien, they don't go in depth in explaining what the xenomorph is, and they don't even show the alien that much on the screen. Like allowing people to use their imagination, I think, is what makes good horror. Like, you give them enough so that they can know there's something there, but they have to use their imagination in order to figure out the rest. Predator is another example. Like, you don't see the monster, you don't see the villain. You allow people to use their own brain to figure out what it looks like. What you're describing is what they did with Amnesia: The Dark Descent. You can't escape it. You can take a breather, but if you rest too long, it will kill you. Yeah. Annabelle Creation was at least okay-ish. I kind of liked it, yeah. Like, the idea of, in the beginning, where you have, like, the neighbors going to sleep and they notice, like, a cult in the other house stabbing the family to death. Like, again, trying to create scenarios that are realistically... It's not that they're realistically possible, but they're, like, taking day-to-day things and make them horrifying, right? Like, everyone lives in a house and everyone has neighbors. And the idea of, like, you're looking out of your window and you're seeing into your neighbor's house how your neighbor is getting stabbed to death by a gang of Satanists. Like, that is creepy. That is scary, right? Because the person watching the movie is going to think that, okay, but, like, what if I was in that situation, right? Because it's relatable. Meanwhile, if you have, like, a situation like, in Harry Potter, they're using magic wands and they're casting Avada Kedavra and shit. It looks cool, but it's not scary because it's got no basis in reality. It's got, like, no relatability. Thank you for the Romanian live stream membership, Barb. I appreciate it. What is that movie with the blind man who murders home invaders? Don't Breathe. Yeah, I didn't find that scary. It was cool though. It was, I guess, like, you could call it a thriller. It had tension in it. But it wasn't really scary. I didn't find it to be frightening. Predator is good, but I don't know if you can call it a horror movie anymore. Oh, dude, when I was a kid, I was terrified by it. I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of people, especially Americans, have been desensitized to violence now. Because you watch Rick and Morty and you watch, like, some of the recent stuff where you play video games and it's violence everywhere. Like, violence galore. But back in the day, seeing a guy having his hand ripped off, like, that was, like, some really sick shit. I hope that there are floods expected in Romania. I heard there are floods expected. Yeah, Romania has floods quite often. I don't think I'm going to have any issues with it because I'm on a hill, so. Check DMs. Yeah. So Hassan Piker apparently made a song that's supposed to mock Trump about the concept of killing of Haitians eating pets, which, by the way, it seems that it has been fact checked now, and it's actually a thing. Like last year, they found like cats barbecued and shit. But it turns out that Hassan made the song to mock Trump. However, people really like it, and people on the Trump side are sharing the song, much to Hassan's dismay. By the way, I told you guys that I saw two things that are just unbelievably dumb to the point where I didn't think it's real. And the first one was with Starbucks, and this is the second one. So apparently this is a trend where people take their electric vehicles and they paint it in a way that it looks like a mirror, right? And people are happy because it looks like camouflage. And it's like, how dumb must you be? Like again, it looks kind of cool, but unless you're in a war zone or you're trying to escape the cops, no, actually, even if you're trying to escape the cops, it's still a bad idea. You're going to get into a car crash. I don't even know if it's legal. Like in my country, it's illegal, but let's assume that it would be legal. Why would you want to do this to yourself? Like, imagine you're driving on a road, right? And there's an intersection, and someone looks to the left and looks to the right, and maybe it's like a little bit dusky, or maybe, you know, the weather isn't nice. You're going to get into a car crash. Not to mention, like, when someone tries to park, right? And they're trying to paddle in the park, and it's a guy that's not very experienced. Like, maybe someone that just got their driving permit, right? And you're parked like this, and your car looks like it's got optical camouflage. Like, why would you do this to yourself? Like, do you really want someone to bump into your car that badly? I don't fucking get it, man. But, like, even on the street, right? Like, there were people saying, oh, I mean, this is going to reflect the light back into to a driver. And they're like, well, not my problem. Yes, it is your problem. If you blind the motherfucker behind you, they can run into you, or even worse, you know, like there can be someone next to you, and they can be blinded because, like, there's a light in front of you. It reflects from your car into his eyes, and if he does if he gets into an accident, there's parts of his vehicle flying into you. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like one of these things that's, you know, it doesn't look really harmful, and it looks kind of cool, but when you think about it, you realize, actually, no, it's the worst idea ever imaginable. Hyvie, hope all is well and hope your day is good. Yeah, American Outlier, would you paint your car like that? Oh yeah, you can have birds flying into it. Oh shit, other animals can actually, yeah, like usually you have animals that have learned about cars, believe it or not, and it's not just like dogs and cats, but it's also like deer and other animals. Like, some of them are dumb enough and they don't know, but like that I have seen studies showing that there are deers that have evolved in order to avoid cars. Like they will not cross a road until they look to the left and the right, and when they see a car, they don't cross. Now, obviously, there are exceptions, but like there are animals that have learned to avoid cars, and if you're like camouflaging your vehicle like that, see, the thing is, though, if you say they'll run into me so the crash is their fault, I think they may actually have a reason why they would be absolved of guilt, because they would say, well, yeah, but like, Your Honor, I literally couldn't see his car. I mean, he painted it in such a way that I genuinely couldn't see it. And at that point, you know, you may, like, normally, yeah, if a person runs into your car, it's their fault. But like, if your car blinds them, or you're installing like additional shit on your car that's not supposed to be there, and that caused the accident, I think that's on you. Check the recent photos of Red Sonja. There might be recent hope yet. Yeah, so like what I found out is that after the Concord failure, certain companies have decided to feminize their female characters, if that makes any sense. And they're basically calling this the Concord effect. Now, I don't know if this is true, like if it's tied to Concord, or if this is a trend that will keep happening. But it is real. Now, in the meantime, speaking of fan service, I want to show you something, right? So, Jesus Christ. This is, what I'm going to show you is from the recent Marvel comic. And I'll talk about the double standard in a bit, right? Okay, so this, I guess, is from the Fantastic Four. Now, I don't really read this shit, but people every now and then show it to me, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, what issue is it? And it's like, oh, it just came out today. Why? So again, they go out of their way to desexualize female characters. Like ever since the Me Too thing, and even before that, they generally believe that if they show a woman with big fat tits in a comic book, they create rapists in real life. I'm not kidding. Like, this is mentally unhinged. But anyway, when it comes to everything else, when it comes to queerness, when it comes to like just bizarre shit, they go full out. Like, there's fan service. Like, if you're into this, there is fan service to you. So like, the dialogue is cringe as fuck as well. It's like, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't thinking of asking you, but at the same time, how do we, come on, you're an explorer. I'm sure we'll figure it out. And he gives like the most creepy face. Like, imagine being the artist and having to draw this. Jesus fucking Christ, right? And it doesn't end here, right? It doesn't fucking end here, chat. It gets worse. It fucking gets worse. So, again, they will cope and say, well, this is not sexual. This is funny. It's funny. This is what Democrats like, you bigot. Why can't you be normal? Why can't you go touch grass? What is with you and liking like all those women with big fat tits? Like, are you some sort of a pedophile? Like, why can't you like this? This is wholesome, you guys. This is what the Democrats like. And I'm like, okay. So, like, everything that happened before 2016 that America created is wrong, right? So, Vampirella, wrong. Conan the Barbarian, wrong. Neverwinter Nights with Lady Annabeth, wrong. Like, all of that is wrong. This is correct. If you don't like this, you need to touch grass. Okay, it's not just this shit, because it's like all over the place. It's like the queer culture that they're pushing in every single entertainment. It's like if something is even remotely appealing to the heteronormative male gaze, it's like, oh my god, go touch grass. Oh, you disgust me. Why can't you watch OnlyFans like normal people? So the whole thing with this is that they will say, well, it's comedy, right? But then they would look at an anime that also does fan service, like, I don't know, Uzaki Wants to Hang Out or some shit like that, which is also based on, you know, like, comedic things. Oh, look, he's playing VR and accidentally grabbed her boob and she's reacting violently. Now that's like teenage level comedy, which these shows are for, right? Like, they're for young people to enjoy, and it's a romantic comedy. And they find that beyond the pale, like, oh, no. But meanwhile, this is what they like. This is what they suggest that people enjoy. And the thing is, like, it's not even masculine. Like, men are visual creatures. There is no way that you can tell me that a man that looks like this, right? He's got the body of a Greek statue, and he can have literally every single woman he wants. He's actually going to go for the personality. Yes, the personality. Oh, fuck off. Like, women do that, though. Like, there are women that, you know, would date a man that's not good looking, but he has the personality. So, like, yeah. But that's a woman thing, which is fine. But it's not a manly thing. Like, stop forcing it. Like, stop forcing stuff that women like into what men like. You wouldn't like to do it the other way around. Like, imagine forcing stuff that men like onto women. You go to 50 Shades of Grey, and it's like, well, where's the violence? Why is it someone getting their leg chopped off. Like, why can't we have a, you know, like a zombie apocalypse in 50 Shades of Grey? You know, like what? Yeah. They wonder why I no longer buy comics. The thing is, like, Japan does stuff like this, but at least it's funny. Like, at least when Japan does, like, comedy with sexual undertones, at least it's got a punchline. At least it's trying to be hilarious. But, like, meanwhile, like, what the fuck is this? What is this? Like, do you remember that scene from Konosuba that actually became a viral meme? Where you have, like, this evil lady with big tits, and she catches the main character, and the main character doesn't resist, and then finds out that the lady has a dong. Like, that is so hilarious that it became a meme. Everyone was sharing it. It was all over YouTube. It became into various shorts. Like everyone knows about it. Do you think this is going to become a viral sensation? Yeah, I'm not going to show it again. I think I exposed the chat to enough harm for today. Buy Razor Fist. Is Razor Fist making a comic? Maybe I'll collab with him. Get his character in my video game. It could go viral, but not for positive reasons. See, that's true. Sometimes you have something that's so fucking cringe that it actually goes viral for all the wrong reasons. Subtitle of the picture, The West Has Fallen. Oh, God. Is that Reed Richards? No fucking way. Is that Reed Richards? Let me, hold on. If it's Reed Richards... It doesn't look like Reed Richards, man. I don't fucking know. Like, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. And I'll tell you why in a bit, right? Yeah, I don't think it's Reed Richards. I mean, it may be. And I'll tell you why I'm not surprised if it is. But, like, this is Reed Richards, right? Like, it's got a different hairstyle. Then again, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't read the comics anymore. I used to. I actually know the lore. Now here's the thing, because I actually know these things, right? It's not that I just read the comics. I actually listen to Stan Lee's interviews and shit, so... I'm not as well experienced as, the Comicsgate guys. Like, yeah, boy Zach, but I know a little bit about comics. So, Stan Lee pointed out that back in the day, almost every single superhero had a hidden identity. And because of that, they were quite lonely, or, you know, they had family issues that they dealt with, but again, like, they had to keep a secret identity. And the thing back then is that people genuinely tried to be innovative, and they didn't want to create superheroes just to create a superhero. They were like, okay, we're creating this guy, like, what is it about him that's original? Let's make him black. It's like, how is that original? What the fuck? It's like, we're not talking about demographics. We're talking like what makes him different than all the others. And in the case of the Fantastic Four, it was like, what if we create a family? So they don't have secret identities, and they're actually in a family relationship. And that was the thing. So, like, if I were to see that they did this to Reed Richards, and he's now having sex with an alien octopus, then, yeah, it would make perfect sense, because these people destroy heteronormativity. Like, if you actually look into the superheroes that came after 2016, almost none of them are straight. Almost none of them are in a relationship. Unless it's some queer stuff, or unless they're cheating on each other, or stuff like that. I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, Spider-Man and Mary Jane broke up. Cyclops and Jane broke up. It's like, they went after every single character that was in a relationship, and either broke them up, or killed one of them. Like, at first I was like, okay, well, they're trying to tell an interesting story here. But then you realize that it keeps happening, and it's so blatant that, yeah, they generally, like, do not want positive role models anymore. And, I'm actually trying to think of, of any relationship that's still standing, and I can't think of any. Like, even Frank Castle. Like, for those of you who don't read comic books, in one of the recent numbers that I read with Frank Castle, the Punisher, is that his wife comes back. Like, they resurrect her through some magic. I don't know how exactly, but, like, it's the Marvel Universe. There's plenty of ways to resurrect someone. So they resurrected Frank Castle's wife, and she basically says that on the day she got killed, like when they went to the picnic with their daughter, she wanted to break up with Frank because he's a gun nut, he's crazy, like she can't live with him. But she didn't get to tell him that because she got killed before that. And then she's really upset about all of this vindictive journey that he went through, killing all of the bad guys, and she finds it absolutely disgusting and abhorrent, and she doesn't recognize the man that he is, and she's going to divorce him, and she took all his money, and half of the money that she took is going to keep, and the other half that would belong to him she's going to take as well, and she's going to donate it to left-leaning activist groups. And I'm like, wow. Oh, and she took his guns away too. And I'm like, you realize there's no Frank Castle. You realize there's no wife of Frank Castle. And you realize that all of this is in the writer's head. Like, there is a person that actually decided to put this on a piece of paper and is probably very proud of what he accomplished. And that person didn't create the character. That person didn't manage to get the character to that point. No, that person just got hired by a company that owns the right of the character. And that's what he decided to do with that character's legacy. It's kind of like, you know, in America, when Lizzo played that flute, like it was a crystal flute that belonged to some founding father, and it's a piece of American heritage. It's like someone entrusting that to you, and you just smash it. And then you pee on it. And then you stomp on it. Right? It's kind of like that. And it's like, it tells you more about these people than it tells you about Marvel or anything. American Outlier, no stuff like that is the reason why I'm making my manga worth fighting for. We deserve to have some attractive women in the media. You know what I think? I think that American Outlier manga is going to become very popular. And I think that at one point, when American Outlier is old, he's going to sell the rights to someone else. And that other person is going to inject his manga with diversity. He's going to make all the female characters look like men. And is going to add stuff like this, where the female characters from Outlier's manga are making love with their symbiotes. And it looks like with a lot of tentacles and spiky shit. And yeah, I think that's the future. The good news is going to become popular first, so enjoy it while it lasts. What can I say? It's almost like when you read modern stories from the West, whether they're TV shows, video games, movies, they all have a thing in common. They hate stoicism. Like, they treat stoicism as it's fucking radioactive. Like, you guys should look into stoicism on YouTube. Like, it's interesting philosophy. But it's very masculine. It's very manly. And it's since the ancient Greeks, right? So, like, if something manages to withstand the test of time from ancient Greece all the way up until now, like, there must be something going on for it, right? Because usually, like, bad ideas are swept away by the passage of time, while good ideas that are difficult to debunk, they manage to remain in some form or another. And Stoicism is one of them. And like, literally every single fucking video game or TV show, they absolutely hate the character that's stoic. The only stoic character that I actually seen, and it's making huge waves right now, is Space Marine 2. Like, the character from Space Marine is actually a stoic. By the way, to describe stoicism, it's basically don't be a little bitch. The philosophy. It's literally that. Like, there are so many good things about stoicism that most men should be taught, but they're not. Like, here's an example. And once you realize a lot of these things, like, your life becomes so much better. It's difficult to implement them. They all make sense. They're all rational. And they have, like, good reasons. but sometimes it's difficult to implement. Like let me give you a couple of Stoic advice. What the Stoics teach us is that the world we live in is often a world of our creation. The people around us that have power over us is because we give them power. The feelings that we experience is because we choose to experience those feelings. Like most of the stuff in our daily lives is just in our head. If you have an exam and you need to go and you see the professor has as much power as you give them. Like if you find the professor to be menacing and you're thinking that he's like this superhero, like the superhuman level abilities, like this demigod that can flunk or fail you, then that's what he is for you. But if you think that the professor is just a guy hired by the university and he has to perform a job by listening to what you have studied for the exam, then that's what he is for you. Like basically we decide how other people are. Now, what Stoicism teaches us is that harmful emotions, when we experience them, don't necessarily help in any way, shape, or form. This is completely different than what feminism teaches, that men should cry. Right? Stoicism teaches, it's like, look, even if you cry, nothing changes. The situation is still the same. Crying is not something healthy. It's not something pleasant. It's not something productive. It doesn't actually help you. In fact, it puts you in a state that's nasty. And why would you want to have it? So basically, like the way Stoicism explains it, and this is like one of my favorite takes, and if you guys want to take something from Stoicism, it should be this. Imagine that you have to travel with an airplane, right? So, you know that tomorrow you're taking the airplane to Fiji. So what do you do about it? Well, you need to make sure that everything you do is going to make sure that you are going to reach the airport on time, right? So you study and you get to see like what is required for you to fly the plane, what items are allowed, what items aren't allowed, the weight of your baggage, right? Like when do you need to buy the tickets, where do you need to go? Like you're supposed to do all of this research beforehand. Like you're supposed to prevent having unpleasantries once you reach the airport and you find out, oh, well, actually you have like this item on you which is not allowed, so now we need to take it away and we need to pat you down, right? Like, you know, you want to avoid that. So basically the things that are in your control, you should manage them, right? Because being on the airport on time, making sure that all the items you have on you are allowed, that's under your control. However, there are things that are not under your control, like for instance, the weather. So you can be on time on the airport, but because of the weather, your airplane can have a delay. And this can actually influence you negatively, like maybe you have another flight to catch once you reach the other airport, and because of the delay, you may not make the other flight. Like there are a lot of possibilities. But what Stoicism teaches is that because this is not within our realm of influence, like we cannot control the weather, there is absolutely no reason to think about it. There is no reason to dwell on it. There is no reason to occupy your mind with it. Because regardless of what you think, regardless how you feel, it's not going to change the fact. So, the things that we cannot influence should not occupy our mind, even for 1 second. Because if you're constantly going, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to miss the flight. But if I miss the flight, oh, what will I do? Like, I really need to get to that business meeting and blah, 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 blah. That's not helpful. That's stressful. That's extra stress that you can avoid simply by blocking it out of your mind. Like, if you tell yourself, look, it's not in my control. There's nothing I can do. We'll see what happens when I get there. It's a lot more better. And again, feminism doesn't believe that. Feminism believes that you should be a little bitch and burst down in tears and start crying over the event. And that will actually make you feel better. And I don't think that works, to be honest. Let's see. What's in the chat? People are talking about Space Marines, and the Serenity Prayer comes to mind. Yeah, a lot of Christian stuff is actually influenced by Stoicism. Yeah, there's also a lot of things that would be considered cancerous by feminists. Like almost like Stoicism is literally the reverse of feminism. Like everything that feminist teaches you, except for dating and sex life and stuff like that, Stoicism is pretty much the fucking opposite. Like for instance, Stoicism teach you to cut off the people in your life that are constantly drama llamas. So basically, it explains that a stoic person is like a ship on a calm sea. This is how the mind of a man needs to be. You're the captain of a ship in a calm sea, right? And there's this friend of yours that constantly brings up drama. Like he nonstop just brings up drama, and it causes your sea to become a storm because it sucks you into his drama. And now you're like navigating this whirlpool because you're getting involved into his shit. And usually the way is like a person that attracts drama nonstop, devil, he also makes a lot of enemies. He makes people that he doesn't like. You're associating with him. Now his people, his enemies become your enemies. If you're trying to give him advice or you're trying to... Now people around him interpret it in a different way, right? It's just so good when you don't get involved into that shit. It's just so calm when you're like, no, if you want to have your storm, that's great. I gave you my advice, but like, I want to just navigate on my calm fucking waters. I don't need that shit into my life. I don't need that level of drama. I don't need that level of schizo. It's like, and again, when you have this mindset, when you have this philosophy, the world becomes such a calmer place. Like everything becomes so fucking chill and so fucking zen, and you appreciate life a lot more. Speaking about Dev, he seems to be deleting videos about Zoe and Wu. There are people that change their mind, I guess. You don't have the same opinions you had back in the day. Maybe that's why I haven't asked him. I think like a lot of content creators, just so you know, a lot of content creators, myself included, we usually delete videos that are demonetized because it helps with the algorithm. So because we're not under some corporation, we're not under some big management group, it helps us if the algorithm pushes us a little bit more. So by deleting videos that are demonetized, you actually get to get a little bit bigger promotions. But I don't know if it does it because of that. I have no idea. No, Zen is not a stoic term. No. And I will not fix the camera. Do you know how awesome it is to be able to stream without having to comb your hair? Jesus fucking Christ, it's amazing. Then again, Sargon deleted a lot of videos. I think like he actually deleted it because YouTube changed the TOS at the time. So YouTube actually did that back in the day. They may still do it now. But basically, they allowed you to say anything in the beginning, and then they would say, okay, well, this is not allowed anymore. And if you have videos that were before they passed the rule, then you could still get a strike on your channel. So many content creators, especially the big ones that had like millions of subs, they decided to delete some of their previous videos. So maybe Sargon did it because of that. Again, I don't know. But what I do know, again, is that many content creators, myself included, we do delete videos that get demonetized. And we usually try our best not to get demonetized, and most of the time it works. But the algorithm triggers easily. Like, for instance, if you say shit in the first 5 seconds of a video, that's a demonetizable offense. You should promote this channel more than the other. I've been promoting it. It's in every single link to the comment. It's like the big comment. Every single link promotes to this channel. So I'm doing my best. Yeah, not combing hair and VTubing is stoicism, pretty much. Honestly, like the Stoics would say, it's like, well, if you feel comfortable with your hair not being combed, then... No, joking. I generally don't know what Stoicism says about combing your hair. It does say that you should be comfortable to being the person you are. And that you should be a manly individual. Right, I need to talk about the title. Holy shit, every single time I forget to talk about what's in the title. So, Joe Biden, yes, apparently he has a MAGA hat. And the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that's a really bad Photoshop. And then I find out it's not a Photoshop, and it's like, what the fuck? So, let's watch the actual thing where Joe Biden puts the Trump hat on.
Kept the Trump hat. After the interaction, she said that her father ended up getting another cap from the Trump campaign after they reached out. So he kept the hat. I mean, does he have it by his bedside in the White House?
I don't know. It's so...
Yeah, I know, man. I'm an old guy.
And you're an old person.
I know you would know about that.
What?
About being old.
Oh, I know.
All right.
I'm a young timer. Huh?
He reminds me of the guys I grew up with. There was always one in the neighborhood.
Well, I'm the only one.
There you go, man. I need that hat.
Want my autograph?
Hell no.
You know my name. Come on.
I ain't going that far.
Yeah, you said you would do a selfie. There you go.
So, like, I'm watching this, you know, and I don't think this is dementia because he understands, like, I'm not putting that on. So he's, like, aware of what's happening. He's the one that requested the hat. And there is another photo where he wears the same hat. So, unironically, what I think is happening is that he is so fucking pissed. He is so fucking mad about what the Democratic Party did to him and the way they injected Kamala as the presidential candidate. That now he is unscripted, and yes, as people are saying, he is surprisingly wholesome. And he just doesn't care. Like, you cannot give a bigger FU to the Democrat Party than what he did. Save for, like, writing a book and talking about what happens behind the scenes. But it does feel like a troll. It does feel like a troll. And, I don't think there's going to be voters that he is going to lose. I don't think there's going to be voters that Kamala will lose over this. I don't think it matters. But I do think it's like the biggest amount of damage that he can possibly do and get away with it. Funny that Biden is at his most charismatic, but he's surrounded by Trump supporters. Oh my goodness. No, I think it's like... politicians are mostly charismatic when they don't read from a prompter, when they don't have a PR team advising them on what to say and do. I think that's what makes them charismatic. It's when they act like actual human beings and they don't have to read a script. This was the most likable I ever seen Biden in my life. Granted, the bar was very low. Oh, God. Most genuine applause that Joe has ever received. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's... I mean, there's just so much fakeness that they used in the campaign as well. Like, one of the things that I never understood, I mean, this still rubs off weird to me, is that when Joe Biden tells in the morning that he is still running for president, and in the afternoon he goes like, no, I'm out. He announces that on Twitter. His own staff didn't know. You gotta ask yourself, is that genuinely the president that signed it? Because, like, it wasn't, it was a document on X. It wasn't even on his presidential campaign. It was, like, so fucking weird. To the point where if someone else did it, like, what can he do about it? But anyway, right? You would expect, like, an actual live statement that he would appear, like, because all the other political leaders would have done that. It's like, oh, we're dropping out of the race. Okay, well, they would make a public announcement. It wouldn't be on Twitter. But then they make the public announcement, and it's not a live video. It's a recorded footage. It's like, what the fuck? You know, like, no questions from the press. No interaction. Like, if it was live and it wasn't recorded, like, they did an awful job as well to not highlight it properly. Because people were pointing out that the watch was off, which could be explained because of a time zone difference. But not taking questions from reporters, like, really? That's such a monumental thing. Like, you announce in the morning that you're still running for president, and in the afternoon, you're telling people on Twitter that you're dropping off. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of shenanigans afoot. But like, the worst thing is when Kamala decided to run, and she was like in her little office, and like Joe Biden decides to call in, and they have like, oh, Joe, nice to see that you're still there on the recording. Oh, no, that, you know, you guys remember that? Yeah, I have a feeling Joe may be a little bit pissed. Yeah, Joe carrying a red hat onto Air Force One says everything, yeah. Man, if he appears with that hat again, that would be absolutely fucking hilarious. If he comes up with the red hat one more time, he's going to be like the Queen of England. Which, you know, everyone is like, oh, she's wearing a blue hat. Is she trying to promote the European Union during Brexit? Like, what's going on? Hey Vid, can you please do a reaction to Freedom Tunes? The problem with Freedom Tunes is that he makes videos that are like 1 or 2 minutes long, and if you do a reaction, you show the whole thing, and I just feel that it's kind of like stealing the content, you know? Especially like when it's something that I agree with, and it's not something that I disagree with, like I'm not adding anything. Like usually it would just be me watching and saying, yeah, I agree with what's here, so... Anyway, right, I should be heading off to make videos for my other channel. So, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully it was entertaining, and I don't know if I'm going to make tomorrow's Week is Stupid. Maybe I will have Spoon on. I'll see how he feels about it. Because, yeah, Ors can't make it. He's got family issues. But we'll see. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again tomorrow. Take care.